In the heart of a sunny morning, when the sunlight spills over fields of clover and wildflowers sway in the breeze, life buzzes inside the hive, a hidden world alive with purpose. Deep within a waxy chamber, the queen bee, large and graceful, lays her next egg, a tiny pearly oval resting snugly in a hexagonal cell. That little egg, smaller than a grain of rice, holds a story about to unfold into one of nature's most fascinating lives, the life of a honeybee. For the first 3 days, the egg stays still, warmed by the vibrations of thousands of wings, keeping the hive cozy. On the 3rd day, it hatches into a fragile white larva, blind and wriggly in its wax cradle. Around it, young nurse bees, just a few days old, rush to feed it royal jelly, a nutrient-packed treat from their glands. This royal jelly fills its tiny stomach for the first 3 days, letting its cells multiply like crazy. But unlike the special larvae destined to become queens, it soon gets a simpler diet. Bee bread, a mix of pollen and nectar packed with protein. Over 5 to 6 days, the larva grows from nearly invisible to filling its entire cell, shedding its skin multiple times along the way. When it's fully grown, the workers seal the cell with a thin cap of wax. Inside, the larva spins a delicate cocoon and starts its transformation, a magical process where its tissues melt and reform, legs, eyes, and wings emerging from the shapeless mass. On the 21st day, the new worker bee breaks through the wax lid and steps into her world for the very first time. A warm, buzzing hive filled with the sound of thousands of wings and the sweet smell of honey and propolis. Her body is soft, her wings folded, and her sense of duty is already part of her nature. Right away, she starts her first task, cleaning. She scrubs her own birth cell spotless, getting it ready for the queen to lay another egg. Keeping things clean is super important. One dirty cell could spread disease through the hive. As the days go by and she grows stronger, her role changes. She becomes a nurse bee, feeding young larvae with care, looking after hundreds of tiny siblings, and even grooming and feeding the queen herself. The hive is her whole world now, a buzzing city of wax and motion, working together in perfect harmony. Around day 10, wax glands under her abdomen kick into gear, producing small scales of wax that she shapes into new comb. She joins her sisters in building and fixing the hive, crafting thousands of perfect hexagons that serve as nurseries and storage for honey and pollen. Each hexagon is a little architectural marvel, efficient and strong, designed by instinct and refined over millions of years. As she gets older, around her 2nd week, she becomes a storekeeper. Returning foragers drop nectar into her open mouth, and she transfers it into comb cells. She and her sisters fan their wings to evaporate excess water from the nectar until it thickens into golden honey. This honey will keep the hive fed through the cold months ahead. She also becomes a guard, stationed at the hive's entrance, sniffing each returning bee to make sure it carries the colony's unique scent. Invaders like wasps or robber bees are quickly repelled with stings and teamwork. Every bee knows her role, and none act alone. Their purpose is shared, the survival of the hive. At around 3 weeks old, instinct pushes her to take the most daring step of her short life, her first flight. She crawls to the hive entrance, hesitates for a moment, then leaps into the bright sunlight. The world is vast and full of colors she's never seen before. Her compound eyes, each with thousands of lenses, can spot ultraviolet patterns invisible to humans, guiding her straight to flowers rich with nectar. She visits hundreds, sometimes thousands, of blooms each day, sipping the sweet nectar and collecting pollen grains on her legs. She stores the nectar in her honey stomach, separate from her digestive one, carrying it back to the hive like a living vessel. The journey is risky winds. Predators, rain, and exhaustion threaten every flight. Yet she returns, time and again, guided by the sun, the Earth's magnetic field, and an incredible sense of direction. When she gets back, she doesn't just unload her harvest, she communicates. Standing on the vertical comb in the dark hive, she performs the famous waggle dance. Moving in a figure-8 pattern, she wiggles her body during the straight run. The angle of her dance tells her sisters the direction of the food source in relation to the sun, and how long she waggles signals the distance. What looks like a little shimmy is actually a precise code, a living GPS. Other bees watch, memorize, and fly out, following her invisible directions. The hive, as a superorganism, moves and thrives through this silent language of movement. But her time is short. A worker bee's body is built for hard work, not for living long. Her wings fray and tear after thousands of flights. Her tiny muscles wear out. Within 5 or 6 weeks in summer, she dies, often far from home, alone in a field she once pollinated. Yet her death isn't in vain. Each bee that falls is replaced by another, born from the queen's endless rhythm of egg-laying. Deep in the hive, the queen moves calmly among her workers, larger and longer-lived than any of them. She can live for up to 5 years, laying more than 1,000 eggs a day during peak season. She once took a single mating flight, high in the sky, where drones from other colonies competed to mate with her. Those drones died after the act. But the queen stored their sperm in a special organ called the spermatheca, using it slowly over her lifetime to fertilize eggs. Surrounded by attendants who feed her royal jelly, clean her, and guide her. The queen is both monarch and servant. Her only purpose is to ensure continuity. As seasons change, the hive transforms with the world outside. In autumn, when flowers fade, foraging slows, and bees focus on storing honey. Drones, the male bees whose only job was to mate with queens, are kicked out of the hive to die, as they eat precious resources without helping the colony. When winter arrives, the colony clusters tightly around the queen. Thousands of bees form a living ball, vibrating their flight muscles to generate warmth, keeping an inner temperature of about 35 degrees Celsius, even as snow falls outside. They feast on the honey stored during summer, moving slowly, conserving energy, surviving months of cold and darkness. Then, as spring sunlight returns and flowers bloom again, the queen gets back to her relentless egg-laying. New workers hatch, the hive buzzes with life, and foragers take to the sky, starting the cycle all over again. The life of a honeybee is brief, just a few weeks for summer workers, a few months for those born in winter. Yet every second is filled with purpose. Each bee plays a part in something way bigger than herself, pollinating the plants that feed our planet. 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat depends on bees' hard work, from apples and almonds to coffee and cotton. Without them, entire ecosystems would struggle. But modern threats loom large. Pesticides, habitat loss, parasites like the varroa mite, climate change all put their delicate balance at risk. Still, bees persist, ancient, resilient, and tireless. So, when we see a honeybee hovering near a blossom, we're witnessing more than just an insect. We see generations of precision, sacrifice, and unity. A single bee's wings may only beat for a few short weeks, but together, they shape the heartbeat of nature itself. Her life from fragile egg to tireless forager reminds us that greatness isn't always about strength or longevity, but in devotion, community, and purpose. The honeybee's story is a poem written in flight, a golden thread that ties flowers to fruits, seasons to survival, and the smallest of lives to the vast design of our world.